Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to KT Garage. I'm in the process of restoring this Fox Body Mustang. I bought it a few years ago, gave it a good paint job on it, and now I'm starting to work through the issues with the engine. It's nothing big, but things that I need to address before I fully driving it. I have it on the road right now, but the engine runs a little rough. When you first start it, you have to baby the gas pedal for a little bit before it warms up, and then while it's running it wasn't doing all that great. So I started out with replacing or do a basic tune-up with replacing the wires, the spark plug, distributor cap, rotors, and the coil. So replacing all of that really helped to make the engine run a lot smoother while it's on the road. I was happy with that. I'm getting a ton more power, but at cold start I still haven't resolved that issue. It's still doing the same thing. So in this episode, I'm going to troubleshoot that cold start problem, and hopefully by the end of the episode, I can get the car running properly doing cold start. I'll show you guys what my plans are for the day. Okay, so I did some research, and there are three things that could affect the cold start. It could be the idler air control valve. I'll show you where that is. It's a really easy swap. It could be the ACT, and I'll show you how to swap that. That's a little bit further in the intake manifold. This is the air charge temperature sensor. So when that goes bad, it could affect the idling. And then of course the EGR, the entire EGR system. If the EGR fails, you get rough idling in general and rough idling during cold start. So my plan is this car already had the cat removed, so I really don't need the air pump. I'm gonna get rid of that air pump and use a shorter drive belt. This is a 84.5 inch. I'll put this on the comment so you know where to get all these parts. And then while I'm at it, I'm just gonna completely take the EGR blade out and then put a new gasket on it. And then while I'm at it, I'm probably gonna take the upper intake manifold out and clean it, give it a good coat of paint. And then this is the plug for your heads that are in the back. There's two of them. You gotta plug those up. Otherwise, you're gonna have an exhaust leak and it's not gonna run right. So take a look at the engine real quick. So here we are. You can see that my intake manifold, the upper intake manifold, doesn't look too good. So I will take that completely out, clean that up. And then this is the EGR plate right here. I'm gonna see if I can just take that out completely and then move the throttle body into the upper intake manifold and get rid of that middle piece. And then this is the idler control valve we were talking about earlier. It's just right here, so it's a easy swap. And then the air charge temperature sensor is actually sitting in the back. You can't see it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna take the upper intake manifold out. Hopefully I can see that valve and replace it. guys, as soon as I took the throttle body out, you can see looking nasty. I don't even know how this stuff gets in there. It's like all over the place. And let me see. You look inside, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's like fluid inside the upper intake manifold. So that can't be good. That looks crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna go and clean all this out. Okay, so I got the upper intake manifold out. I unplugged a bunch of stuff, just mostly vacuum lines and electrical connections. So I already pulled this plug right here and plug it up. I'm gonna do the same going down that way. Now I'm gonna focus on getting this air pump out at this piece right here. First I'm gonna take the 17 belt out, and then we'll take the air pump out and start getting rid of all of this air pump lines, making things a lot simpler. Okay, so getting the air pump out is quite easy. So there's some plumbing you gotta remove. This like this piece right here. I already partially pulled it out, but there you go. You just disconnect that. There's 2 bolts. Let's see if you can see it. Yeah, so over here, on the air pump, there's a bolt right there, and then there's one under. You take those 2 bolts out, and then the air pump comes right out. Now, as far as plumbing goes, so that piece of plumbing is actually connecting to like this whole big mess over here, and there's like some kind of check valve over here. I'm just gonna break this connection loose, and then I'm able to pull all this out. Okay, guys, the air pump is out. You can see that there's a bracket right there mounting the air pump, and then it's mounted to the top of the head somewhere. So that's gone. You can see there's a lot of room down there, which is great. You see this whole big mess over here is gone. Now I get to see the headers. Changing spark plugs is gonna be a piece of cake. So now I gotta remove. So let me see, set the flashlight down. So this is part of the air pump that comes in. I took all those mess out, but this is remaining. That's the steel part, or steel tubing that goes to each head, and that's the part where you need to plug up. And I'm not sure if you can see down there, but like at the end of that tube right there, there's going to be a bolt that you need to remove. Now I can't get access to it right now, so I have to remove these two heater core holes. So there's one here, one here. When I get this out, I can come down with a wrench and get that bolt out. The thing is though, this is looking pretty old, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this and then buy a replacement one. I'm gonna order it, so it's gonna take a few days. So this is not gonna be a one-day project, but that's okay. So I need to order a bunch of other stuff. I'll let you know what that is. So I'll go ahead and pull those out so I can get the rest of this tube out. I also have an option of like just plug up this hole right here, but I really just like to get that whole big tube out because this has no function being there. I like the engine bay to look a little cleaner. So now this is what we're looking at, guys. All that emission stuff that I just yanked out of there. A lot of vacuum lines, and then the recirculation stuff is here. Air pump right there. I'm just gonna put this in the box for the next guy if he wants to put it back. Alright guys, so this is the last piece that came out. This is in the back. These are hooking up to the two heads, one on each side, and this is connecting the EGR plumbing. Got these out. There's only two bolts. There's one bolt there and one bolt there. Now come up here real quick to show you where it was. So yeah, it's tucked right behind there, and it connected this side and that side over there. So got those out. Now I'm gonna start putting the plugs back in because you gotta plug it back. Now that there's a hole, you gotta plug it back up. Okay, so first I'm gonna go ahead and plug up the two holes in the back of the head because I took out the entire air pump assembly. So these goes right back there, and you just need to plug up the hole and torque it up. Okay, so you see the blocked plate right there sitting back there. There's enough room to work with, but it's scraping the gasket, the old gasket out of there was a nightmare. And I ended up having to get a really coarse piece of sandpaper and kind of just like sand it away because it's got baked in there for many years of being in that situation where it's quite hot in there. So on this side, a little harder to get access to, but you can see that block plate right there. You can get to it. It's just a little difficult to get around. But it took me actually about 45 minutes to get both sides done. It's quite a bit of fighting it, trying to get it in and torqued it up. Well guys, I got the belt in. The new one with the reduced length. This is the 84.5 inch, I believe. I'll get you guys the part numbers later on the description. But the routing goes just passing the air pump down there, and then again, then it goes directly to a crankshaft pulley that come up around this water pump, and then it just get to these two devices over here. So that's the power steering, air conditioning compressor. So, and all you need to just put a really big socket on here and pull this up, get the new belt in, and then put the tensioner back down. Not that big of a deal. Everything fits perfectly. So now we're less than air pump. Everything is looking a lot less complicated. You can see everything in here is visible, easy to service. Love it. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to switch out the ACT, or the air charge temperature sensor, and I believe that it is sitting right here. That's where the sensor is. So to change it, you just get this plug out and then replace the sensor. Not that big of a deal. Now what I really want to do though is to change the injectors as well. Looking at it, it's seen better days. I mean, you can see that it's looked quite old, and from the way the upper intake manifold look, it hasn't been taken out for many years. So the injector probably partially plugged up. So I'm going to go ahead and replace them. I ordered them. It's going to come in a couple of days. We'll get that swapped out. But for today, I'm going to start pulling the injectors out and get it ready for when the injector comes. Now, before you pull the injector though, or take the fuel rails out. So anyway, to get the injectors out with this right here, all you need to do is just unplug the connection to the injector, and then after that, you remove the bolt. There's I think there's only two that bolting the fuel rails down. But before that, be very careful and relieve the fuel pressure, because the fuel pressure is still present. And if you look down here somewhere, there's a thing that looks like the valve in your tire. There you go. So you just stick something inside and see if any fuel comes out. Make sure it's not high pressure, because it could have 60-70 pounds of pressure in there. I know, get all the car, damaging the car. It could hurt you with the pressure release. So make sure you do that. Okay, so let's find out if there's any fuel pressure in there, and make sure you wear glasses for this. I'm just gonna stick something in here and see if any fuel that kind of spray out. Nothing, which is good. Okay, so it's totally depressurized. We're ready to take the fuel rails out. All right, so here's an update. I got all the injectors out. You can see that this is the fuel rail right here, and this is the mounting bolt right here. You just unbolt it and pull it straight up to get the injectors out. Injectors are sealing on here. It's just a push-in O-ring that they're sealing. So yeah, pretty much that's done. Now the injector goes in here. You can see this ports right here. I went in and I cleaned them out real good. Make sure it's nice and clean, because it does need to have a good seal when you put the new injectors on there. Same thing on this side. It's a little more open on this side. Easier to work with. That's the fuel rails right here. Injector, electricals, and then these are the ports right here for the injector. Very self-explanatory. Just make sure you clean up real good. I did what I could in here. Just a bunch of nasty junk in there. And this is the ACT sensor right here we were looking at earlier. So it was on the driver's side. I'm standing on the driver's side right now. It's towards the front, and it's under the intake manifold. The upper intake manifold is right there. It takes a 1-inch socket to remove them. You just stick it right on. Now check this out. This is the ACT sensor. This is the one that I replaced. You can see how bad this looks. I mean, I don't think this thing is working at all. It's all carbon black on there, so that's probably why it's not idling correctly. Got my new sensor. I'm gonna put this in, torque it up, and then we're good to go. Well, here it is, guys. The ACT already been torqued. I think I took it up around maybe 20, 25 foot-pounds, something like that. Is the NPT connection, so you don't need to tighten it super tight because you might have to take that out one day. I'm not gonna hook this up yet because I need access to here to get my injectors in. So now I'm just waiting for the injector to come in, and then we'll button everything up. Okay, so what I'm gonna do next is putting this idler air control valve back in. Now this is a new one. I got rid of the old one. Not sure it's still working or not. So you put your gasket on, and let's see which way is this gonna go. Okay, so let me see. Yep, this is towards the front, so that's correct. Oh, towards the inlet side. All right, so the injectors come in. I got this from LMR. I think I paid $250 something for all 8. Now, these you can go to Amazon and get them for probably 60 bucks or so. I advise you guys don't do it. Those are, I don't know how long it's gonna last. It doesn't look all that robust. And I really don't know anything about them, but you know, you can trust going to LMR and buy a good brand. So I will include the part number for these so you know where to get them. They should be pretty reliable for what you're trying to do with the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this installed. Okay, so installing these are super simple. All you really do is just make sure you have this facing up where the electronic connections are. There's an O-ring here. You just press it down and make sure you apply quite a bit of force. You can hear them click. I'm probably gonna need 2 hands for that, but basically you push this down until you hear it clicks a little bit. Make sure it's fully seated, and do this for all 8 ports. Okay, so I got all 8 in, and there's no drama here. It comes right in. You just, you know, you do need 2 hands for this. So you line them up real good and you push it in. It should bottom out. So the next thing I'm gonna do is just trying to get the fuel rails back on. You just try to line them up as much as you can, and then get them all lined up, and then you just like push it down, and it should come down naturally. You know, with a little bit of persuasion, just keep pushing it down. All right, I get it in. And what I did was, after I lined up all the injectors with the fuel rail, I used one of these to kind of tap on top of where the injector is. You know, this is actually rubberized. So either this or you can use a mallet, but I figured this is a little lighter. I don't want to put too much force on it. So I just simply tap on it like that, one at a time, and it comes right in. And it's I'm at the point where the holes are lined up, and we'll put this 2 bolts back. Let's see here, and I'm gonna torque that up just like so. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it up and bolt it down, and you're done with this side. And basically just plug your electronics back on one at a time. And here's your ACT sensor right here. You need to plug that up, and then you're done on the driver's side, basically. All right, so this side doesn't really give me a hard time either. It comes right in. You just need to tap it in, and it all came in. It locked in by a couple of bolts, and you're done. So 8 of my injectors are in, ready to go. So moving on to the next. Reassembly. Well guys, the heater core rubber lines comes in. So I went ahead and put it in. It's real straightforward. They're two different sizes, so you really can't mix them up. So that went in. I'm gonna move on to the next thing. So at this point, I can go ahead and start putting the upper intake manifold in. This piece of tape really helped to keep all the junk out while I'm working on the other component. So now's the time to get it out. So nice and clean. I already cleaned this real good before I put tape on. Okay, so be real careful with all the vacuum line. Make sure you hook up just the way you found it. There's a vacuum line that runs into the front, and then back here there's a couple of vacuum lines that runs back here, and there's one main one that runs to the brake booster. So make sure you get all that reconnected. And so at this time I'm gonna start bolting the upper intake manifold to the lower intake manifold, and it's gonna take 18 or 22 foot-pounds. I'm gonna hit it with 22 foot-pounds. Just make sure that you tighten the bolt sequentially and not, you gotta cross them and not to tighten two of them together at one time. Okay, so with your EGR plate being gone, you have to replace it with just a solid plate. You can get this right from eBay, and it's made to replace that other bracket. It's a lot thinner, but you need this for mounting this bracket right here, and this is for the throttle. So you're definitely gonna need to get each bracket. Just be sure you get a gasket to go between this side and this side. Well guys, this aftermarket block plate doesn't work. It's too thin. It's supposed to come out here, and since it's so thin, when you push this all the way in, your throttle body actually is like a couple of inches towards this way. Check this out. So down here, this is where the throttle body is supposed to be pulled back by this linkage. Well, it's hitting the heater holes. So now I gotta move this heater hole, which is a big deal because it's designed to be there. I'm not gonna move anything. I'm just gonna put the bracket back, and then trying to block it from this side. I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna work with what I got and not using this. I'm gonna return it. This thing doesn't work. I don't know why they even sell it. Okay, so what I did was I'm gonna try to reuse this EGR bracket and try to make it work. Now the EGR bracket has this for the exhaust to recirculate. Now that we're not going to do that anymore, so I made myself a little bracket or a plate to come in and kind of just block that off. I'm going to use the original gasket for that, and then I'm just going to block this two inlet and outlet for the coolant. So this is the chamber where the coolant comes in and cool this whole thing down. Since I don't have any exhaust recirculating, I really don't need to cool it down. Besides, I think there's some coolant leak in here because I've seen there's a bunch of coolant that's inside my upper intake manifold. So that's gonna resolve the issue bypassing the coolant. I'm gonna go ahead and get this in the car. All right, I got everything reassembled. You can see that this EGR bracket is still here, but you got a block plate that's sitting right over there. And let's see, I got a new throttle position sensor just because the clip broke off from here. I just thought I got a new one. Let's see what else. Everything else is reassembled just the way it was. The linkage is down this way. It's right here. You kind of just pop them on. And this is an aftermarket intake system, so I just reassemble it. It's really nice and open in here. I really like the way this new engine look. It's just so much simpler to work on. You can see it's so much easier to change the spark plug without all that emission stuff that running across here. This is such an old car that the clips are broke off from where the injector is. So I just put a zip tie in there for the time being. I think it'll stay there. Engine bay looks so much better. Cleaned up a bunch of stuff. Now let's see if we can get it started and get rid of that cold start problem. Oh guys, it's running so much better. I mean, it's so much smoother. No problem with cold start anymore. It hesitated a little bit because I didn't have any fuel in the system, but when it started, it runs great. I checked for fuel leak and everything, and there's no leaking, so it should be good. Well, I drove around the block, and the engine is so much more powerful. There's no more hesitation, and the car starts right up. Now, it did hesitate a little bit at first because all the fuel was out of my system when I changed the fuel injector. So, but as long as the fuel pump get the fuel into the car, it starts right up and it stays on. Before I have to baby the accelerator pedal for probably 30 seconds or so. Now it's just like it stay running. And it idle at a much lower idling speed. I think it's around maybe 700-800 RPMs. Very stable. Love it. So I'm not sure what really fixed the problem. Was it the ACT sensor? Was it the throttle sensor? Or was it the injectors? But those are, or the whole air pump system. And I just kind of just took everything out and then plug out all the vacuum. There might be some vacuum leak that was happening, but the process of me doing it took care of the problem. So there could be multiple things, but you know, if you're gonna go through and do exactly what I did, you're gonna just get rid of that whole problem altogether. The car is running so much smoother. I appreciate you guys tuning in to KT Garage. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Thank you.